today, and now you feel fat today also. You're welcome. And now there's a podcast.
Welcome to I Feel Fat Today, the show where we dispel diet myths, see what's new in diet culture, and investigate your relationship with food. I'm your host, Kelly Taylor. And with me this week is our guest, Emmy Award-winning journalist, Kyle Ridley. Kyle, thank you so much for coming on.
Hi, Kelly. Great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yes, amazing. Okay, so we're going to get right into it with Kyle. I want to first start because normally on this show, I've had all different kinds of people on the show that vary in their careers, but mostly comedians because that's just like my network. But you have a different background because your background is in TV producing. And so I would love to just kind of start to get a little bit more of your background, like how you got started into TV producing and like how long you were in that industry, if you could give me a little background.
Sure. I've been a journalist for a little over 20 years. I actually started in high school when I was 17 or 18 with my student paper, and then volunteered at the local newspaper back when newspapers were around. And then all throughout my 20s, I worked at a tech company doing technical writing, but I also freelanced for local papers, mainly arts, entertainment writing, and a lot of comedians I interviewed. So people that would come to the DC area, or actors and actresses, musicians. And later in my 20s, I interviewed Hoda Kotb for one of her books that she had written. I think it was called 10 Years Later. And it was about people that did career shifts or life changes sort of midlife. And it wasn't because something traumatic happened. It was because just they needed to scratch that itch. And so I told her it felt like she was talking to me because I had this itch to go back into broadcasting. I had never made it in broadcasting. I interviewed at the Dr. Phil show my last year of college and NBC in LA, but it was the recession. So when she gave me that advice, I sort of dropped everything and I started networking on LinkedIn and sending my resume out. And I landed a job at a local station in DC, and I worked there for 7 years. And then I went to another station for 2.5 years. So I did that all throughout my 30s and left last year. But I was a morning show producer, so waking up at 3 a.m. every day, having a live show on the air by 9 a.m., writing all morning. And in addition, my favorite part was booking the guests. So, if you think of Today's Show or Good Morning America, we do all the news, the politics, the hard stuff. But my favorite part was lightening up later in the hours with the food and the drinks and the comedians and actors and musicians. So last year I left just because it was a grind, and waking up at 3 a.m. and the politics after the election, I was like, I've been through this before. So I left last year, started my own media company and my own podcast, The Tangle with Kyle Ridley. And I'm getting to have these long form conversations with people, and it's more celebrities, a lot of comedians that you probably know. I actually made a post today of tons of comedians that I've had on my show, just trying to let people know, get the word out there. But I'm getting to speak with these people for 30 minutes, 45, an hour, whereas in TV, I would do all the research and then prep the anchors to interview someone for 3-4 minutes. So it's a much deeper dive, which I'm loving.
Oh, that's so great. I love that. Very cool and a stressful environment. And it must be such a shift now to be like working for yourself and being kind of on the other side of the camera.
Oh my gosh, waking up in the morning and having to report on the administration or the cutbacks or ICE or crime in DC or, the snow coverage. I was there when the Chesapeake or the bridge collapsed. Like it's nonstop.
Yeah. Yeah, your cortisol is just like through the roof all the time.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. All right. So now that we have a little bit of your background, this will come back around and questions will come up from your TV producing days. But I kind of like to kick off our interviews with the question of, when were you first introduced to the concept of dieting? Like, is it something that you kind of recall or not?
I sort of just always remember feeling bigger than the other kids. I was, I guess, the chubby or the husky kid, which I don't like those terms, but that's what I was called. And probably I would say maybe kindergarten, I felt bigger than the other people. And I think kids, when they don't have that concept, especially in the 90s or 80s, there was a lot of bullying, a lot of criticism. There is still plenty today, but I think we're a little more in tune with body sensitivity. But words like fat or lose weight or like afraid to take my shirt off, I was just always felt out of place. But dieting, again, bring it back to the 90s. It was heroin chic culture in the magazines. It was a different diet every week. Atkins, Slim Fast, Snackwells. It was every trick that you were trying to choose. And I was the same every like Monday. Okay, I'm going to start this diet. I'm going to start restricting, or I'm only going to do these foods, or the lemon diet. It was sort of, yeah, it's very prevalent, and it sticks with you. It's ingrained for life.
Oh yeah, you literally said Snackwells, and I immediately tasted those like thin chocolate covered little cake things. Like it immediately, I'm brought right back.
Yeah, back then my family didn't know anything about nutrition. And I don't even know if the world did. Remember, we were all scared of any type of fat.
Oh yeah,
It was all bad. Yeah. And then it was just like chemicals. Those were healthy.
oh yeah, oh yeah, and like you just got used to the chemical taste. You're like, oh, this tastes diet. Like, oh,
Hmm.
okay,
I can still taste
absolutely.
the Slim Fast drinks, those creamy milkshakey things. Oh
Oh
gosh.
yeah, and like I didn't think twice about like bringing a Slim Fast shake in even middle school to school for lunch. I didn't think twice about it.
No, me neither. And same with in school, you can sort of see the I can sort of see the people struggling, like, oh, they're not going to eat, or they're getting
Yeah.
a small salad, or yeah, it's pretty toxic, but it starts at a very, very young age.
Yeah, like when you go all the way back to saying kindergarten, because totally same for me. Like I don't really have consciousness before the concept of dieting and like one, not thinking about everything that I have ever eaten. Um, and so I'm curious if you felt any kind of like pressure from within your family, or was this just like self imposed because it was it like Kyle needs to lose weight, or you're just in the mix of what everyone's doing?
I think it was just pressure on myself. My family never pressured me, but I think indirectly I was pressured because I could see them feeling the same type of pressure. So I have family members that were overweight or were constantly dieting. I've had family members that have battled eating disorders, and they try to do it in private, but I think kids have a sneaky eye or a sneaky ear, and they can pick up on stuff. So not directly, no one was pressuring me, but I could sense that being bigger was bad based on
Right.
other people's actions.
Totally. Absolutely. And, you mentioned eating disorders, and on your platform, you are very open about having, dealt with bulimia in the past. And so I would love to ask you more about that. And, you're never really healed from an eating disorder. But how long would you say you were really like in the throes of bulimia?
In the thick of it, probably about 7 years. And it was probably from 22 to 29. Right around 30 is when I started getting help. But the eating issues started way before then. I think it's oftentimes a slow build. So I would diet in my teens, or I would restrict, or I would exercise and go through little fits and spurts. I think the first time I ever made myself throw up was probably 15 or 16. And I probably did that for the next several years, maybe once every few months, and then maybe it was once every quarter. And it was sort of, I mean, I knew it was bad, but it was also like, it was sporadic. It wasn't an addiction. It was just like, oh, I overate. I'm feeling blah. I know this is an easy fix. And then, but something so easy can turn to something so dangerous so fast. And it was, as you know, it's not all about food and how you look. A lot of times it's about control and trying to control everything else around you. So in my early 20s, I was in a relationship that I probably shouldn't have been in. The person was much older than me. I was probably struggling with my sexuality and fitting in. I'm a gay man. I came out at 17, and I was with this person from 17 to 23, and they were 22, 23 years older than me. And they suffered with severe depression. I remember I was around 22. It was like any other week. I was like, I got to get a hold on this. I was gaining weight. I was the type of person that would weigh myself every day, every night. I don't remember the last time I weighed myself now. It's about how I feel. But I started like, okay, I'm restricting, I'm dieting, I'm working out, and by the end of the week, I ordered I think I ordered one, maybe two pizzas. That was not out of the realm for me to eat two whole pizzas and breadsticks and whatever else was around because I knew I was going to binge. And it was also my cheat day. And then because I was working out and not eating, when I continued on the next week, I think I was so hungry that my body just went out of the loop and was like, okay, now I'm going to run to the store and get more. And it's going to be this one more time. And that quickly, once every 6 months, once every quarter, that quickly turned to once every day. And then soon it was twice a day for 7 years. And that was, as I'm sure you've talked to many people, that's all you live for. You isolate from everything else. I was very high functioning, work, school, graduated 4.0, looked like everything was working well, but whenever I wasn't in work mode or school mode, all I was doing was when can I eat, when can I binge, when can I purge and feel alone. And it became my reward, my excuse for anything.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, it's crazy how it can snowball into this daily practice really, which is crazy. And I don't know, like there's something that this I don't know why it can be a soothing thing to like make yourself throw up after binging a ton of food. Like it I don't know why it has that effect, but your brain can become addicted to it.
Oh yeah, I've never been addicted to drugs, but I can remember it was like just withdrawals if I was not binging, or if I
Yeah.
would start to get hungry, like, oh, this is my binge time. I need to find an excuse to get out of here. And it was like because I was hiding so much of it, a lot of it would be daily trips to the store to get massive amounts of food, eat it all, throw it away, hide it from everyone, in a trash bin somewhere, and purge. And it would become like, yeah, it's a ritual. It was a coping mechanism, and it would be hours a day. I would like time my binges. I would get a whole
Mm.
buffet out. It would be like, it was comforting, but in a
Yeah.
very sick way. Like obviously
Yeah.
knowing this is horrible. This is damaging. I'm living a life of shame and secret. And every just like dieting, every week it was like, okay, I'm gonna stop. And
Yeah.
I couldn't. I got to the point where I was like, maybe I'll never ever get better.
Yeah, so I was wondering, like, did you, when you were, in the throes of doing this every day, like outside, like, even if you said to yourself, um, n- it starts Monday, I'm not doing this anymore. Did you ever, like, when you were really in the throes of your disorder, think, there's no way I can not vomit every day?
I didn't really know how I would cope with not
Yeah.
controlling everything that went into my body and getting rid of it and to live normal. I didn't really know how my mind would fix itself or function in a way like, oh,
Right.
I'm not studying every single nutrition label and getting anxiety if someone asks me to dinner and finding an excuse not to go, or studying the menu and what substitutions I can make. I really lived an isolated life throughout my 20s. I was busy with work and school, and I got married. But even the first 2 years of the man who would become my husband, he did not know. It was all in secret. In my car, it was shame ridden.
Yeah.
It really the reason I got help was really I was like a mini intervention between my mom and my ex-husband, and I really felt like I was going to lose the two like security blankets that I had. Those are the two people that I loved most and leaned on, and I felt like, well, if they're gone, like what am I going to do? So
Yeah.
it's sort of when I started to get help, but it's a long journey to recovery, and it's lifelong as well.
Well, what was your reaction when you were confronted by them? Because that is like it. Yes, it's scary to lose. Your two people that were the most sacred to you, and your security blanket, as you said. But what was your reaction of like, oh God, I'm found out, and it's all coming to a head, and like they're telling me I have to stop.
I think it had been a lot of those tiny little talks over the years with my mom because she was aware to some extent because I
Mm.
share everything with her. I did not tell my ex-husband at the time. I think it was more her telling him, filling him on everything that I had been doing because she was scared that I was going to die. And I felt so ashamed, but also proud of the relationship that I was in and secure with that person that I wanted to get help so that I could help us. So it was
Yeah.
not really a selfish thing. It was really more wanting to be with this person that I loved so much. Because for years, when my mom would address it with me, I knew how to downplay it or
Yeah.
push it aside. It'd be like, "Oh, it's not that bad." When we didn't live together, oh, I'll get help right now. Oh, I think I'm gaining weight. I was able to sort of pass it along by not being in touch with that person that much. But whenever she would see me at a family event, she knew something was wrong.
Yeah, when you're sharing your life with somebody, through marriage or living or whatever the situation is, your relationship will begin to suffer. It can only be a secret for so long. Like you said, the first 2 years of your relationship, you were able to keep it a secret, and it
Yeah.
just all comes to a head.
Yeah, it was me, when he was not at home binging and then hiding everything and trash shoots and
Yeah.
cleaning every scrap. And then if he was home, it was me in my car or going to a buffet by myself. You really become it's like secrecy. It's sneaky.
Yeah, which is also part of it.
Hmm.
Um, so,
And expensive.
It's very expensive. Yes, it can be very expensive. And it's, eating disorders are seen, I think, as generally when talking about eating disorders, I feel like people tend to say, like, this is something that women deal with. Like, our women and girls, we have to be careful of how we can't demonize food for our women and girls. And so because historically eating disorders are seen more of a woman's issue, which I think that's happening less and less now, but certainly not a few decades ago, even a few years ago. Did that sort of make it harder for you to realize that, like, maybe you are dealing with something that's out of the ordinary, or did that impact it at all?
I think there's a big stigma around eating disorders in everyone, but with men, it's just not talked about much. It does
Yeah.
affect up to 25% of men, according to statistics, and LGBTQ people are more prone to it, specifically men in that sense. I think I just felt like I didn't want to admit anything. I wanted to admit that I was in control of the narrative and this was my choice. And wanted to admit like I could get better whenever I chose. And I was just choosing not to. But internally, I knew like, why can't I stop? Because I keep trying to stop and it's not working. I think that, whether you're restricting or binge eating or purging, there's a lot of different forms of eating disorders, and men just don't talk about feelings in general. We're raised that
Right.
way to suppress and to sort of be the caregiver and the leader in that sense. And I think a lot of that comes from like a toughen up mentality.
Yep.
And then, but if you look at bodybuilders, the people that are huge with muscles and they're taking testosterone or who knows what they're doing, that is another type of disorder. There's a lot of restriction that goes into that, and there's a lot of obsession that goes into that. There's a lot of obsession, hours and hours in the gym restricting that becomes sort of your life's mission. Just like for me, it was to eat and purge. Their life is to build and build, and with that, they're restricting and they're damaging their body. It's just a different form. But again, men, we're tough. We don't talk about it. And
Yeah.
every single pitch, 10 years in TV, I would always get pitches, Eating Disorder Awareness Month, which is this month, or, anytime. It was always women spokespeople. It was always nurses accompanying them. I never got a pitch for a man to speak about it.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. And we talked a little bit about your career at the top of the episode. And so this was something that you dealt with in the throes of when you were in your 20s. Where were you at that point in your career?
So I graduated college around 23. I was later to graduate.
Mm.
So I was in the throes of addiction throughout college and my first corporate job, which was all throughout my 20s, which was a good job. It was in government contracting, plus I was freelance reporting. So my days were full. And
Yeah.
then I also like, I would say I got sorry, let me pause.
Yep.
With that first corporate job, I started working remotely, which really lent itself to being able to
Yes.
binge during lunch breaks and
Isolation.
whenever I wanted. Isolating a ton. And that's really what this disease is about. It's isolation, not just by yourself at home, but isolating from friends, restaurants, anything public, anything where there's food involved. And when I started working in TV at my early 30s, I was not purging anymore, but it's just not a switch. Just because you stop purging doesn't mean you don't
Right.
feel like you need to purge or you feel, I guess I feel fat today or uncomfortable. So I was working in TV and there was always food around. We do food segments and I would say it's been year by year for the last 12 years that I've been in recovery that I'm still incorporating new foods into to what I eat. I
Yeah.
know there's no such thing as a bad food. Back in the day, I always had all these bad foods and fear foods. And there's still some foods that I don't touch just because I feel like I know too much. I know how my body or my mind will react, and I'd rather fill up on something else and maybe I'll have a bite. But there's some things that are just forever changed in my mind. Like,
Right.
it's just not something that you can go back to. Like, oh, I don't care about all that high fructose corn syrup. It's like, during recovery, you're also learning about nutrition as well, which I never learned about. So I've learned healthier eating, but also to understand that nothing is truly off limits.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's funny because when you're in the throes of an addiction like an eating disorder, you think you know everything about nutrition because like you're reading the nutrition labels, and then in recovery, you learn actually about nutrition, and like you think you know because you're so obsessed with it, and then when you're in recovery, um what did you notice, like that switch when you were eventually in a program and you were like, oh, okay, like uh, my concept of how bad are is completely different than like the reality of it.
Yeah, I didn't go to inpatient. It was recommended, and again, I think I was just scared. That
Yeah.
loss of control and being away for a month or two, I was just scared. So my journey may have been quicker, but no, I went to therapy and I went to couples therapy and opening up with friends. I didn't really talk about it with people in public up until maybe a year ago. I posted about it on Instagram, but still haven't really been talking about it. Just this year, decided let me be more public facing and sharing a
Yeah.
bit of it. Um, but what was the question?
Sorry. No, just talking about being in let's I'll reframe the question. Um
Nutrition,
yeah,
right?
nutrition. So um how much, I guess what I really am wanting to ask about is the outpatient program that you did. You said you focused on nutrition. What other parts of the outpatient program were kind of talked about to help you reframe this eating disorder and like live a life where like you weren't in this binge purge routine?
Well, I did speak with one nutritionist, and she actually used to come on my show. She talked about uh, moderation, and also the thing that really stuck with me is the good and bad foods, because I had so
Mm.
many fear foods and so many bad foods that were just categorized as never, 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 and how you can live a fulfilling and healthy and body conscious life by taking part in everything. It doesn't mean indulging, it doesn't mean overeating or binge eating, but treating yourself a little bit without fear. And it's also hard for me to like say I'm an expert, because I'm not. Because one thing you said at the beginning, which is true, is you're never fully recovered, you're never fully healed. Even though I'm incorporating more foods and I've gained weight over the years, I am fully conscious every single time I eat something or drink something. I'm fully conscious of what's included in my diet and what's on a restaurant's menu. You don't lose that.
Yeah.
So when I put something in my mouth, I'm fully conscious of, okay, I'm hungry and I'm going to eat this. And this probably is not the healthiest thing for me to eat. And I might eat this whole bag and I might feel like, but it's fine. I'll get back on track tomorrow. It's not going to ruin me. I'm not going to restrict and have to go work out for 2 hours and burn it all off or beat myself up. Just because I think some people might think, oh, you're not purging, you're better. There's also restriction. There's also over exercising. There's also laxatives. There's so many forms. So
Yeah.
just I've learned to just be like, this is what I'm doing right now. It's not a be all end all. Every time, I'm sure you've talked to people familiar with like, if it was for me, it was like, if I took one bite, that would ruin my whole day. And if I took one bite, I might as well eat 5 bags and order a pizza and go to the fast food restaurant, because that
Yeah.
one bite has ruined me.
Right, right. So even though you are, thinking about what you're drinking and what you're eating, it's not causing that like avalanche of now, okay, well, I've had this piece of cake and now it's like time to eat the whole cake. You've been able to like stop yourself from having it snowball.
Yeah, or like last night I went to Chipotle and I got like a bag of chips, which I never would have done. And I
Yeah.
know those chips are just they're just burned in oil and they're just swimming and they're the fried. But I mean, it's good. And maybe I don't finish the whole bag of chips, but like it's chips. It's basically corn and oil. It's fine. And that
Yeah.
would have just like I would have beaten myself up with one bite back in the day.
Yeah. And so much of what you're talking about is reminding me of intuitive eating. Like, do you know much about intuitive eating? And if you
Hmm.
do, like, what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, is it's sort of like mindfulness and is that you
Yeah,
might want to
yeah,
explain
yeah,
more.
yeah. Yeah, it's sorry.
Like understanding how your body is reacting and how you're feeling and knowing when to stop.
Eating something and like sitting with the feeling of it is really
Yeah.
what it is. And like so many people say with intuitive eating, if I intuitively ate, I would eat a whole cake every day. And the real rub of it is that like if you actually with yourself and thought about like what you're wanting and how you're feeling, there could be one instance where you do eat a whole cake theoretically, and then when you sit and think about how that's making you feel, that craving to have a whole cake likely will not come up again, at least not immediately, because like you're you're feeling how you're feeling.
Yeah.
And so much with binge eating especially, I know I can speak from my experience, the numbing effect of eating so much food is I don't know how I don't understand how that works, and I don't want to say works so well, but you wouldn't think that food can give a numbing effect. Like you can understand smoking a lot of weed or drinking a lot of alcohol. Of course, that's going to create a numbing effect. Your inhibitions are being lowered and everything. But food is something that I can go to the grocery store and buy food. Babies eat food. Like, what do you mean this is giving me this like high essentially? So yeah, I just what you are talking about is reminding me a lot of intuitive eating. So
Yeah.
I
Well,
thought
there's
I'd
a numbing
ask.
effect to purging as well. You know, there's
Oh
a
yes.
sort of you fill yourself up, and if with binge eating, if you're not purging, it's sort of a numbing effect where you're like you sink into the couch and you just fall asleep. But in the same way, when I would binge eat, I would sort of get a rush at the end, like, okay, I need to get this out of my system. I can't let this sit. I would throw up, and afterwards, it would almost be like a dizzying high, and that's when I would crash and go to sleep
Mm-hmm. And think, okay,
and wait till
no
I
more.
can wake up and eat again. Yeah.
Yeah, totally, totally. Um, so when you were, even in your 30s is when you got into producing and having those 3 a.m. wake ups and going into a busy day. Was stress a trigger at all throughout all of that?
TV producing was stressful in itself, but I wasn't binging and purging at that time. What happened to me when at the start of my recovery was it would probably be I forget the word right now, but it's eating overly healthy. What is that word? It's something
Right. Something like orthorexic, I think.
orthorexia. So really studying nutrition, but almost getting a little way too fine tuned about it, where it was almost. Hold on. Stop, guys! My dog.
We
Patty.
always have dogs barking in the background at I Feel Fat today. I'm surprised you haven't heard mine over here.
Yes, yeah. So it almost became a little too almost like a raw food diet. And I mean,
Yeah.
surprisingly, after I stopped binging and purging, I actually lost some weight because I was eating almost all natural foods and I was not binging. And even though I was purging, you still retain some of those oils and stuff. So
Yeah.
I actually lost weight and people were a little scared at first. So it really, as I said, it's slow. It's been year after year after year where I incorporate rather than just like salads and fruit and chicken and broccoli. Now I can have like snack foods, chips, or a little
Yeah.
sugar here and there, or some
Yeah.
carbs, some oatmeal, some grape nuts. I'm known to eat a bag of popcorners, like that's my favorite treat right now. So it's really been studying every single year, and also just talking with people about it, and not being scared, building more community. I think I was very isolated in my 20s and early 30s, where it was really just me working, and then me and my husband. I really didn't have a social life, so I really since my divorce a few years ago, it's really been about building community, sharing myself more with people and on the podcast. And through that, sort of taking lessons from everyone else. And just, it is true, the older you get, you do get more confident. You have more experience. So I think you treat yourself a bit better, knowing that you're resilient and can get through stuff and you've learned all these lessons and push through it. So I don't want to backpedal and go back to where I have before. I just want to keep progressing. But it's continual learning for sure.
Yes, absolutely.
And
Just
also,
learning
it
new
is
stuff
true as
every
we
day.
hear everyone as when we're older, you hit a point in your life where you just don't give a shit what other people think. That's really where I've become in these last few years. It's like everything I've been through, it's like these small things with petty, I don't have time for that. There's much more to worry about. And food is one of those
Yeah,
things I don't need to worry about.
I love it. Oh, amazing. Something to look forward to. um, yeah, so outside of your eating disorder, like was there anything else that you may have like overcome? I think you mentioned like depression at some point in your life. Like has there been other like maybe like emotional sort of like I myself speaking from experience like have outside of like disordered eating have had to, you know, kind of cope with having anxiety and depression and you know, I never realized how much of an anxious kid I was and how that actually did play a big part into my disordered eating as a child. Anything else like that for you?
As a child, I struggled with severe OCD in middle and elementary school. I haven't really had to deal with that in a couple decades, but that was a big factor. Depression here and there. I wouldn't say anything severe. My first partner that I was with, that I told you about, who was much older than me, he battled severe depression and took his life. So I think that was had an impact.
Yeah.
And then I would say my big thing probably has been anxiety, which in the pandemic I did seek treatment for and medication for because I was one of those people for so long just was like, I don't want any sort of medication. And my gosh, it's definitely helped. Not that I never feel anxiety anymore, but I was
Right.
the type that would ruminate over something for days, weeks on end. I would have health anxiety, work anxiety, and it would affect my sleep and everything. So I do take something now and it's not a huge dose, but I can get my anxiety and I can talk through it and work through it much faster where it can, subside in an hour or so and not days and linger and bug me for days on end.
Yeah, absolutely. I was also a kind of person that was like, yeah, I'm dealing with all this, but no medication. I don't need medication to get through this. And then I got on medication, like you said, like not high doses, just a little something. And I'm like, oh my goodness, you guys should get on medication.
Yeah.
It's like, this is great.
It's a lifesaver. I wish I
Yeah,
had gotten on it sooner.
I know, but and it's I just thought we all walked around with the feeling like there's a cinder block on our chest. I'm like, that's just living life.
Kind of is nowadays.
I know. If you are even mildly aware. Did you have any sort of physical I guess ailments as a result of your eating disorder? Like, I don't know if you read Jeanette McCurdy books. I'm glad my mom died, but she writes about how she had such bad bulimia that she had to deal with like her teeth falling out and having to go to the dentist all the time for that kind of stuff. Did you experience any kind of like GERD or anything?
I did read that book. I've had some dental damage for sure. I don't know how much is contributed to bulimia because I was also the type to like rinse afterward right away or like do lemon water to try to like reduce the acid and
Yeah.
baking soda, but I've definitely had a lot of dental work as far as recession goes. Fortunately, like no cavities, but a lot of my gums have receded and I had to have like gum grafts put on, so that was probably a contributing factor.
Wow. Yeah.
I started seeing a cardiologist when I was in treatment just to make sure everything was on board because I do have a murmur that I've probably had my whole life. But I mean, why would I be further damaging my body when I have a heart murmur? Um, yeah, and I think it probably does a mine on your brain, your mental health for sure.
Yeah. Oh, of course.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But
um
fortunately, I don't think nothing serious. Knock on wood.
Of course. Good. Yeah. Um, and yeah, so, over here at, we talk about feeling fat, and like I like the concept of I feel fat today, because like, we have good foods, we have bad foods, we have fear foods, like, and people try to use fat as a pejorative term when I don't think it needs to be that way. So we talk about feeling fat, but not just physically, but emotionally. So like, is there something like that will make you feel better if you are kind of like in an anxiety spiral because it's the year 2026 and things are awful in the world and you just need to cope? Like, what do you have at your disposal?
Oh, I would say number one are probably my three rescue dogs. So I have three dogs that are always around me, and I work from home, so they're like my comfort zone, and they're my shadow. So I have them around me all the time. I think also I still say I feel fat today, and I think just saying that, like to friends or people that are close and that have known what you go through, that's also a good sounding board, because you want to deny how you feel. Of course,
Yeah.
everyone feels that way. Just because you're in recovery and you don't binge and purge anymore doesn't mean you don't feel gross some days. There are certainly days where I feel fat, and I will say that, like, ugh, I feel fat. I don't want to eat that. And there's sort of a good grounding sense where like, you're not fat, you're ridiculous. And in my mind, of course I know that, but we all
Right.
feel that way. I mean, I'm not perfect. I had a down day yesterday where I just sort of put my phone on do not disturb, and I just wanted to isolate and take a nap in the middle of the day, and just sort of, James Vanderbeek died. It was like, ugh, there's too much.
Yes. Oh,
Yeah, so we're allowed to have those days. So you don't beat yourself up and you don't spiral and go into, you're not going to relapse. But I think you
yeah.
have to allow yourself to have those days. And like I canceled something yesterday, taking the pressure off of all your to-do list when you do feel that way. I think you need to give yourself that grace.
Yeah, I think I completely agree, and I think that if you don't give yourself that grace, it's like everything just mirrors itself, right? Like if you don't give yourself that grace, you're going to burn out, and then you're going to, get to the place where it's like, well, I'm just going to lay in my bed and be an ostrich and stick my head in the sand and ignore everything that's going on. When really, if you just like stop down for a little bit, you could have recharged your batteries. Um I think it's Nikki Glazer. She talked about a few years ago, like some days I have to call in depressed. Like some, how like you have to call in sick because you got the cold or like a head cold for the day. Like some days you just have to call in depressed, and maybe it's not fully depression, but it is just like I need to isolate. I need
Oh
to.
my gosh, everyone. I always encourage people, like, mental health days are sick days. Like, we
Yes.
don't take that for granted. And I adore Nikki Glazer. I listen to her every episode of her podcast when she used to have it. Her specials are
I
my
know.
favorite. I've interviewed her a couple times, and she's been through a lot too, like eating
Yeah.
disorder recovery. I identify so much with her journey. And when she would open up on her podcast about how she was feeling, or the certain, she would call it what, maybe like, I don't know. She probably called it something offensive, knowing she's a comedian, but like her anorexic foods that she would eat, like
Yeah.
like there's weird food combinations that we discover and that we we still do and combine. Like, oh, this week I'm eating a bunch of rice cakes, and I've discovered, oh, I remember her saying like, oh, you put them in like oatmeal with some vanilla. It's like, I do that.
I know, I know. I am a huge fan of Nikki Glazer, and she'll be a guest on the show one day, I'm sure.
She's
and
brilliant.
yeah, and I take comfort in, like, I took such comfort in listening to her podcast back when she had it every day, because she would talk so candidly about like, yeah, like just weird food habits, and it's like, oh, I'm not alone. I'm not this freak.
Yeah, she is not afraid to go dark. Her comedy
Yeah.
specials, she's very open about eating disorders and depression and suicidal ideations.
Yeah.
And yeah, but I think that's, we need that. We need people to talk about that. And most people don't. They shy away from it, and she's giving a voice to a lot.
I agree. I agree. I love that I'm talking to another fan.
Yeah, a
speaking
bestie.
of speaking a bestie, yes. So I since I have you here, I'd love to ask, like, who has been like, is there like a standout of like, whether it's from your podcast or from your producing days, of like a celebrity that you've either interviewed or met, and you're like, that was awesome.
Yeah, there are so many. So when I started my podcast, I wrote down a dream list. but let me start with TV. Some of my favorite people that I met in TV, Carla Hall, she lives in the DC area. She's a Food Network chef. I actually became friends with her when she was on the show. Kerry Washington was on the show, Uzo Aduba, Margaret Cho, back when
Wow.
in my TV days. And then with my podcast, I've interviewed some awesome people, many comedians. Jeff Hiller, who won the Emmy for Best Supporting Actor for Somebody Somewhere. This
Yeah.
week I have Lennon Paramon, who's a comedian. She has had several TV shows. Judy Gold. Today I just interviewed Heather McMahon. And then I have a big dream guest of like Rosie O'Donnell, who I grew up watching every day after school. Hoda Kotb and Alanis Morissette, who I have several tattoos of, who also has battled
Yeah.
eating disorders throughout her life. Yeah, there's a lot. LGBTQ advocates, I certainly love having on my show. Andy Cohen is a dream guest. Yeah, I'm sure
Yeah.
if you look at my podcast, there's probably lots of comedians that you know, like Rachel Feinstein and yeah, Kim Whitley, plenty.
Yeah. Awesome. I mean, hopefully I see you one day behind the bar at Watch What Happens Live.
Oh my
Uh,
gosh, yeah, that would be
after
awesome.
interviewing Andy Cohen.
For
That's a
sure.
dream.
Yeah. Oh, Jessica Kirson, I love her.
Yes, I love her.
Who are your favorites?
Oh, you've named a bunch of them. Jessica Kirson's like when someone asks me like who's your favorite comedian, like I feel like I have to say Jessica Kirson because she's just like when I first like was interested in comedy, I'm like she's doing something that I hadn't really seen before. Just like, just loud, aggressive, like funny woman. Like just
Yeah.
so she was I don't know how to describe it, but I was always a huge fan of her. Nikki Glazer right away, I really connected with.
I love how
I've never,
big both of them are getting later in life. I mean, Nikki's like, she's my age, 41.
yeah,
And now she's selling out arenas. And, Jessica's in her 50s. And I saw her 2 or 3 years ago at like a restaurant. And now she's playing huge theaters. So long overdue. She deserves it.
agreed. Completely agree. So to we are coming, kind of close to wrapping up here, and I did check out some episodes of The Tangled, and I really enjoy it. I think it's really great, and I'd love for you to tell the audience about like a little bit about what is The Tangled.
Yeah. So The Tangle with Kyle Ridley, it's a long form interview style show, mainly celebrities, but sometimes I bring in one of my best friends. We'll just do a free fun chat about pop culture or dating. And it's really these people that I have just grown to love over the decades. Some of them that I used to book in TV and my anchors would interview, but now I get to ask all the questions that I want to ask and that we don't have time for on TV. One thing that I always ask all of my guests, and I can ask you right now, is what they're currently tangled in that they're loving, immersing themselves in, binge watching, an activity, reading, and then something frustrating in their life that they are trying to get untangled from right now. Do you want to give it a try?
Ooh, yeah, I would love to. Okay, so what am I currently tangled in? I am currently tangled in. I'm trying to find the book that I have right here. Oh, it's right here. I've always wanted to be a reader, and just didn't have the attention span for it, and always struggled with it. And I kind of realized that I just never really found the right genre that I like to read. And I like memoirs. I can read memoirs pretty fast, but I finally discovered that I like the genre of horror for books.
Mm.
And so I have been so into this author, Gretchen Flecker Martin. She is a queer author, and her books are horror books that are that feature, queer, characters. And I was obsessed with her book that I read, her most recent book, Cuckoo. Highly recommend. It's really good. It's very macabre and dark, but it's very good. And I'm currently on her book Manhunt right now. It's taking me a little bit longer to get through Manhunt just because of like my schedule, but that's really like what I'm I forget how you refer to it, but that's something that I'm really just like in and loving.
Tangled in. Is her book, did they make a movie out of it? Is it the same thing?
It's not the same movie, but I
Okay.
do want to see that movie.
Okay, yeah, because Hunter
Yeah.
Schafer.
Yes.
The same thing with memoirs. Most of these books behind me are memoirs. Those are my favorite to read. And a lot of comedians write the best memoirs because it's funny, but then a lot of comedians have a dark story to tell as well. So I love when they can combine the two. Try to
Yeah.
think of some of my favorites. Well, like Molly Shannon's book, or
Oh, love Molly
Jeff
Shannon's.
Hiller's book, or Casey Wilson, a beautiful book. Jesse Klein. There's so many. Oh, here's an author. I love her. She also has a podcast. Have you ever heard of Chelsea Devantez?
No.
Okay, well, she used to be the head writer for Jon Stewart, and she wrote this
Okay.
book called I Shouldn't Be Telling You This, But I'm Going to Anyway. And she has a podcast called Glamorous Trash, where she reviews celebrity memoirs. And then she wrote one. It's so good. She talks about just struggles in the industry. She's a donor child, like she came from a
Wow.
sperm donor. It's a fascinating book, a lot of laughs, but also some tears as well. So definitely recommend that.
Oh,
Yeah.
great. Would you ever write a memoir?
I'm slowly working on it, but have to build up a profile more to probably sell it. But yeah, I definitely want to share my
No.
story. And then
Yeah.
what's something frustrating that you need to get untangled from?
Oh, I think just oh man, there's so much. I love how you flipped this interview on me. I really appreciate that. Gosh, what is there? I mean, I listen, I guess it's my podcast. I can talk about whatever I want. I am infuriated with the federal government and these ICE agents coming into our cities and just the brutalization, the brutality that I've seen, that we've all been seeing, of people that are being stolen, and how just the murders of Renee Good and Alex Preddy, and so many other people that are not white. Like it's something that I find myself losing hours to, because I have and I've stopped, but I was in sort of local Facebook groups just fighting with people. I guess in this attempt to hope to change their mind and have them see that what they're championing is completely un-American, and everything against what a true American would be okay with. Like, this is completely un-American what's happening. And so I have just been letting my at times letting it consume me, and but I think that's just because if you're being aware, if you're
Yeah.
seeing what's happening, how can you not be affected by it?
I
So
think that's
normally,
probably why I had a depression. I call it, me and my friends call it depression mode. Like that was the mode I was in yesterday. So yeah, and I live in DC. We're in the heart of such
yes,
chaos, and then the erasure of our history with the pride flag being removed at Stonewall. It's
yes,
like
yes.
James Vanderbeek and Catherine O'Hara. It's like we need a day to be
Ugh,
depressed.
agreed.
2026
Completely
was supposed
agreed.
to be a fresh start. It's
I
not.
know.
I don't know
I
when we'll get
know.
untangled, but we have to keep fighting. It's never ending.
Yes. Yes, it's never ending. And I think talking about it helps. And it just, the one thing that is comforting is seeing the people, that seeing how, even though it is really scary in terms of, like, Trump supporters, like how scary they can be, how what's happening is actually so egregious that it's causing people that have supported Trump to stop supporting him, because of how absolutely just egregious the violation of people's rights have been. And that is comforting to me, because it's like, okay, some people are coming online. Some people are realizing that what's happening is bad. So,
Yeah.
but yeah. Well, everyone that's listening at home, I really encourage you to listen to Kyle's podcast. It's very good, and I definitely have a few episodes that I have to go back and listen to. But I would love for you to let people know where to find you as we wrap up here.
Yes, thank you. Instagram is probably my main source. It's just my name, Kyle Ridley with an underscore. I have a website, kyleridley.com. And then I try to, make the imprint on YouTube and TikTok. I'm not, as into that, but you can just search my name, Kyle Ridley, or The Tangle with Kyle Ridley. And yeah, make sure you subscribe to the podcast. It's only been around 6 months, but we've had some great guests and we're building, and would love for you to join me there. And I thank you for having me here.
Yes, amazing. Yes, please subscribe to The Tangle with Kyle Ridley on YouTube, and follow Kyle on Instagram, and follow I Feel Fat Today on Instagram. Subscribe to us on YouTube. You guys know the drill. Leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, and let me know what you think of the show. Send me an email at ifeelfattoday at gmail.com. And until next time, Kyle, thank you so much.
Thank you. This was a delight. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, everybody. We'll talk to you next Friday. Bye.